Hi all, welcome to July 2020 Microsoft 365 monthly update briefing. And in this session, we are going to discuss about the announcements made in Microsoft Inspire 2020. This is Narsima Perumal Chandramohan, co-founder of GG Technologies and an Office 365 MVP. So some of the housekeeping points before starting the session. Kindly keep yourself muted throughout the session. We will be taking the questions at the end of the session. Hence, we request you to keep yourself muted till the end. At the end of the session, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. Suppose if you have questions during the session, you can keep posting them in the chat window. We will be taking the questions at the end of the session. You can find all the webinars from our meetup in the URL that has been shown in the slide. And today's webinar will be recorded. We will be sharing both the recording and the slide deck after the session. So this is the agenda for the today's session. I will be discussing the updates in Microsoft Teams, and then Nandip and Kirti Prajapati will be discussing the updates on SharePoint Online. Manoj Mittal will discuss on the updates from Power Platform. And finally, Vijay Anand will discuss the updates on rest of the things like Azure AD, Exchange Online, Yammer, Stream, and Teams meeting rooms, etc. And in today's session, we will be focusing on only the updates from July 2020 and then Microsoft Inspire 2020. So in this session, we will be speaking about the updates that has been launched or started rolling out. We will not be discussing about the updates that are still under development. And there will be some features which are in private preview that we will be discussing. So the sole purpose of this session is to let you know about the updates that happened in this month. Sorry, in the last month. Thank you. So first I will be discussing about the Teams updates. So in Teams, there are the updates related to end user, and then there are updates related to the developer platforms and the Power Platform updates. And then we have the updates related to first line workers and then the IT Pro updates. First, we will be discussing about the end user improvement. So the very first thing is the multi-window meeting and calling experience got rolled out. So if you see here, I got a meeting multi-window for the meeting and the calling. This is the very important update that got rolled out last in July. And then we have the contextual search. So actually in Teams search is actually a bit painful earlier. So now we have got the contextual search. I am on a team, and if I go to control, if I give control F, it will do the search in the context of the given in this channel. And also if I am on a chat window and if I give control F, I can search in the context of this particular chat. And then we got updates related to file sharing. And then we have the channel info update also. Let me show you the channel update, channel info pane. So I'm in a general channel. In the general channel, you can notice a new icon that got added, channel info. If I click this icon, I can see all the details about that particular channel, the members. I can manage the members and everyone from here itself. This got added now, and then earlier all the notifications, system notifications like a member got added, removed, those kind of updates are posted in the general channel, and this thing will be moved to the info panel in this month. So that is also another update. So Microsoft Teams will not be posting the system updates in the general channel. That is another thing. So for some updates, I will be showing the demo, and for some updates, I will be showing the screenshots. The reason is that I might not have got the update in my demo tenant, and also in the interest of time. So let me show you the new file sharing experience. So what Microsoft does is that, suppose if you are sharing a file with in a team or in a chat window, you will be getting a new experience which is inconsistent with the file sharing experience in OneDrive or SharePoint. There, when you share a file from OneDrive, there you get the option whether you want to provide the edit permission or not, or only read only, like that. Then the window and the UI options and everything going to be the same. The experience will be inconsistent with OneDrive. And then we got Yammer Communities app for mobile. So earlier, Microsoft introduced Yammer Communities app for in desktop. It is supported only in desktop and browser. Now they have provided the support for mobile app also. So you can notice that in the mobile app, in the bottom you can notice an icon for communities. So once you tap on that, it will open the Yammer Communities app. So suppose if you have added a Communities app in your Teams desktop, you will be automatically getting this option. So these are the updates related to end user improvements. Now we shall check the developer platform and Power Platform updates. So first thing is meeting extensibility. Earlier, Microsoft provided various extensibility points for Teams extension, like messaging extension, bots. There are many extensibility points for the developers are available. All those extensibility points are related to a team conversation or a message. Now what Microsoft done is that they have provided option to extend the meeting capabilities also for the partners and the developers. You can notice that in this screenshot on the top right, next to the hand raise icon, you can find an icon, a Contoso app icon. So when the user click on that icon, he will the Teams app will be loaded on the right side, which is something similar to the Outlook app, the app that you might have experienced earlier. So what is the purpose? So suppose if you have some action items that you want to note it down to this is a sample scenario. So you have been in a meeting. So earlier, if we come with an action items for that particular meeting, we will be note it down in the Teams notes. Instead of that, suppose if I want all the action items to be added to my planner or to project, what I can do is that I can develop an app and uh, extend the team meeting capability, and then I can do that. This is one of the sample scenario. And then another major update we got from the developer side is that Azure AD SSO support. Earlier, suppose if I have developed a Teams app where I had a tab where I'm opening my app, that third party app as a tab. And if my app uses Azure AD authentication for my app, still the users need to sign in once again with his Office 365 account. Now why Microsoft has provided SSO capability for the third parties app also. So if your app is using Azure AD authentication, the users will not be prompted for sign in again. There won't be any prompt from now onwards. So he will be automatically logged in with the context of the logged in user in the Teams. So to do this, the users need to make some changes in their code, and they need to submit the app once again for the validation. And then the next update is user attribution in the bot. So in the left side, you can see if there is a bot, there won't be any user attribution. For example, this the poll app. In the right side, you can see there now I can have my bot to have an attribution, the particular user attribution. I am sending this poll on behalf of this particular user. That can be possible. That got rolled out this month. And then the updates related to with respect to Power BI app. So earlier we had the Power BI app for Teams, but there we can just add a report, Power BI report as a tab in Teams. That is the only capability available earlier. Now Microsoft has put a lot of work, and they have made a lot of changes for the Power BI app. You can see in this GIF that you have a beautiful home page where you can see all the reports, dashboards and everything. And also even you can edit the reports from here. You can, if you want, you can share this Power BI report to a particular team. That's also possible. And then finally, we have an update regards to Power Apps also. So now within Teams, if you have you can create a Power App directly from the Teams itself. You no need to switch over to Power Apps to a separate window, browser or anything. Nothing is needed. You can do everything from within the Teams itself. That is one thing related to Power Apps. And then we have an update called DataFlex. Microsoft in the Inspire 2020, they have announced an update called DataFlex, which is something which is we can consider that as a relational database for Teams development. Suppose if you are developing an app for Teams using Power Apps, instead of using SharePoint list or Excel to store your data, you can use the DataFlex. DataFlex is actually a trimmed down version of common data services. Specifically, they have created for Teams, and this will be free of use. There won't be any additional charge for the users. It is available as free for all the users with a proper Teams license. So these are the updates related to developer platform. Yeah, and then now we shall check about the updates for the first line workers. So in Teams, Microsoft have a feature called Shift, purely for the first line workers. The first line workers are nothing but the employees working as a cashier in a supermarket, or the porters or loaders working in large port, the ship port. That they don't have access for the laptops, they just have the mobile. So Microsoft provided a solution to those kind of users for proper communication within them. So let's check about the updates for the first line workers now. So very first thing is, so I am in a team. So this Shift app is available in both Teams mobile and also in Teams web and browser, and everywhere it is available. So in the interest of time, I am showing the experience of Shift from the desktop version. So in Shift, they have introduced a feature called clock in and clock out. So an user can mark their attendance, and for time purpose tracking and everything, they can use this feature. So a user can clock in now, and then if he wants break, he can choose break. He can start a break, and once he came back from the break, he can end his break. And then finally at the end of the day, he can clock out. Apart from that, the user can export his timesheet and verify his timesheet. He can verify. And as an admin or as a owner of that particular team, I can export the time tracking reporting for the entire team. I can export, and then I can use it for my payroll purposes and for tracking purposes. This is one thing related to Shift in Teams. And then we have the policy packages for the first line manager and first line worker. So policy packages is nothing but a predefined collection of policies. specific to particular scenario or the roles. So Microsoft, what they have done is that they have provided the policy packages for various scenarios like the first for education teacher, yes, student, and public safety officer like that. A healthcare manager, nurse, doctor like that. They have provided various policy packages. Now they have introduced policy packages for both the manager and the worker. So if I go to that for the first line manager, then I can see list of policies, predefined policies specific to manager. There might be some, you can see here, you can see all the assigned policies for the manager with for messaging policy, calling policy, meeting policy and everything. And if I go to first line worker, there I will be seeing the same kind of policies but with the different settings. And then in the audit log, what Microsoft recently added, the audit logs for SIFT. So I am in the Office 365 Security Center. There, if you go to search and audit log, you can find all the audit logs there. Suppose if you have added a user, removed a user, you have created a team, renamed a team, if you have created a site, whatever actions you do in Microsoft 365, all the events get audited here, logged here. Now they have provided audit logs for SIFT also. So these are some of the actions that you can find for SIFT. This is not the complete list. In this demo tenant, they have rolled out only few audit logs, but it is a long, very long list. More than 30 events they have added. And then, yeah. As this feature is currently in preview, it is yet to be got rolled out. What you are saying is that as a manager, as a SIFT manager, making the schedules itself a difficult process for a manager. It is a difficult and time-consuming process. They want to avoid the conflicts. They want to make sure everything is in order and right. So they have provided the new feature called Shift Scheduler. It is yet to be rolled out. This feature is yet to be rolled out. And then we have another feature called Task Publishing. This feature is in private window, private preview. If you want access, you need to fill out a form and you need to request Microsoft to access this feature. So what is task publishing is that consider that you own a very large chain of supermarkets. So from the headquarters, if you want to assign tasks to particular supermarkets, for suppose if you want to make some arrangements, so all the supermarkets or all the stores in your western region alone. For example, you want to you want to change a new welcome board, or if you want to add items to the refrigerator, something like that, whatever it can be. From the headquarters, what I can do is that I can post or assign tasks to various stores from a single click. It is a task publishing. So these are the updates related to first line workers. In this slide, I have added the URL. You can follow that URL for more details. And then related to IT administration, we got Microsoft 365 sensitivity labels in GA. Earlier, it is an preview, public preview. Now this got into GA. This supports Teams, SharePoint sites, and Office 365 groups. And then in February, Microsoft announced communication compliance. And then last month, what they have done is that they have provided support for Teams also. In the communication complaints, they have provided support for Teams also. They have added features related to Teams like message or the chat and the team message or the chat message remediation like that they have added. So these are the updates from my end related to Teams. Now it's Nandip, you can start.
Yeah, thank you. Just confirm whether you can hear and see my screen.
Uh, yes, we can see your screen, Nandip.
All right.
You are
Okay.
good
Thank
to
you.
go.
Yeah, thank you. Hello all. Good morning or good evening. Myself, Nandadeep Nathan. I'm Office 365 MVP or Microsoft MVP for Office 365, and then I'm here to talk about few of the updates that we have for SharePoint. So in the month of July, there have been new features that got added to SharePoint, as well as there have been few of the enhancements to the existing features. So let's have a look at them one by one. So the first thing what is rolled out is the new employee onboarding hub, which is also called as an Neo Hub. So this Neo Hub helps organizations for guiding the new employees from the onset of their first day on the job. And this hub provides new employees with the resources, supports, and the general information that they need to start with their work. It also helps connect them to important people, communities, and the culture awareness within your organization. And it also helps stakeholders contribute to the success of the new employee onboarding. So this has been taken care from the perspective of employee who is newly joining, as well as from the stakeholders which are already part of your organizations. So then how to get this new into your tenant? So for that, we will have to go to the lookbook, that is lookbook.microsoft.com. And once you are to the lookbook, just click view the designs, go to solutions, and here you will be able to see the new employee onboarding hub. So once we create the template or create a site on this particular template, what it does, it basically it creates 4 sites. So first one is pre-onboarding hub URL, which will help the pre-onboarding activities of the employees. So they have configured it with the all of the required list, as well as the web parts, layout, and other things. The second thing is it creates is the Contoso onboarding. This will help the smoothness in the employee onboarding day or onboarding activities to maybe get him introduced with the organizations and carry out the other activities. The last two, what we have is sales onboarding, where, for example, if he is joining the sales team, then sales onboarding will be the landing for him. Otherwise, even we also have engineering onboarding, where again he will be a part of engineering, and from here he will be able to carry out his work. So this new template is available as a part of Lookbook, which will help us onboarding of your employees. So this is uh, one of the update that we have. Secondly, we have centralized management for hub visitor permissions. So this is optional feature for both hubs as well as the associated sites. And it allows for a greater viewer access to the content and improved discoverability across the sites. So once you enable this particular thing onto a hub to sync to associated sites, hub owner can specify access by individuals, security groups, or Microsoft 365 groups. So the new visitor permissions will become activated the next time the viewer accesses the hub. Okay, so you can use this feature onto the hub site as well as the connected site onto the hub. The next thing what we have here is SharePoint Migration Tool, or SPMT, support for migrating content from SharePoint Server 2016. So this SPMT tool is designed for migrations ranging from the smallest set of files to the larger enterprise scale migrations. So migrating from SharePoint 2016 is now generally available. So this SPMT tools lets you migrate the content from SharePoint, OneDrive, and teams from various locations, including SharePoint Server 2016, SharePoint Server 2013, SharePoint Foundation 2013, SharePoint Server 2010, even SharePoint Foundation 2010. Even you can use it for a migration, including network and local file shares. So these are the new capabilities that has been added to SharePoint migration tool. Next thing that we have is improvements to the quick edit experience. So on any of the list or library, we have the quick edit experience, but the new things added here is fixed row height. For example, if you have a variety of content which will change the height of your row, in that case, you can make it fixed or even auto fit. And then we have improved row selection. So let's have a demo of it. So let me refresh this. If I go to quick edit, now that I'm into the edit mode of this particular list, from here, I can either select fixed height, so that even though the description, which was very much long in this case, but it has shrink down to equal width for each of the row, so that we can easily work with our content. So again, if I go for auto fit, then it will be kind of a wider view, giving the details of each of the description. But again, if I switch back to fixed height, in that case, I will get more area to work on. At the same time, it gives the control to select multiple items, and then from here, even we can edit or even we can copy these items. Next thing is we have create new button at the bottom of the quick edit, and we have a sticky first column. So what is mean by that is, if I scroll down here, we have add new item button added, so that even though we are into a selection, but we can still go ahead and add new item. At the same time, for example, if we have used data, even though we scroll through that data, our header will be sticky, so that we don't have to look out for which column we are changing the values. So these are the newer improvements that we have with respect to quick edit. Then we have automatically block guest access to new files until after security scans are complete. So what it mean by that is you can enable the data loss prevention, that is TLP, to automatically block external access to OneDrive and SharePoint files until they have been fully scanned by the service for sensitive information. So it includes search freshness as well as indexing. So if the file has no sensitive content based on the DLP policy, then guest can access that particular file. And if the policy identifies a file with sensitive content, then guest continue to be prohibited from accessing that particular file. So until the first scan is complete, we are blocking the guest access to those newer files. Next thing, we have add to OneDrive. So this feature enables you to add shared folder shortcuts directly to your OneDrive. So shared folders, that means it includes the content that others shared with you through their OneDrive for Business, or content that is part of your shared library in Microsoft Teams or SharePoint. So with add to OneDrive, you can not only able to bring all of your shared content into one place, but even you can also work with the shared content with the same power and flexibility as if the files are of your own. So this is again one of the functionality that got introduced into the July updates. Then we have got updates from the SharePoint framework SPFX development side. So most of you might be aware that we now have got release for SPFX 1.11, which has been kind of a long waiting release after 1.10. So this SPFX version 1.11 supports additional attributes in the solution for enabling SharePoint framework support in the store, and new messaging extension support for Microsoft Teams. So that means you can even uh, get your SPFX solutions pushed to Microsoft Store, so that the others can download them directly and start using in their applications. But then at the same time, what has been removed is Knockout framework. So this Knockout web framework option when creating the SharePoint framework web parts has been removed, and you can still use the knockout, but there is no default scaffolding available for knockout. Second thing is Node.js version 8 support has been removed. So the current recommended version is LTS 10.x. So you can start using Node version 10 for SPFS development, starting with 1.11. And then again, they have removed support for System.js in the local workbench. At the same time, Microsoft is also planning to remove support for local workbench within upcoming release of SharePoint framework. So in the future versions of SharePoint framework, there won't be any support for local workbench. Um, the next thing or cooler thing I wanted to talk about is the SPFX web part as Microsoft Teams messaging extension. So what we can do with this is we can host our SharePoint framework web part as a Microsoft Teams messaging extensions. So for that, we don't need to use any specific host in the supported host property like Teams tab or Teams personal tab inside web parts manifest JSON, but we can just need to extend the Teams manifest in SPFX solution with Compose extensions because ultimately it is the one which is being recognized by Microsoft Teams. So SPFX web part when exposed as a messaging extension, it responds to the user interactions by posting an adaptive card to the conversations. So this requires the task modules and a bot. So the task modules notifies the bot of the event that the user has triggered, and the bot will post data back to the conversation. So maybe I can show you one demo of it. So I have one web part created called as a Planner Explorer. So what, and then I have hosted this particular web part as a messaging extension. So now at the bottom, you can see that this is available as a messaging extensions, Planet Explorer. So once I click on this, this will still be a SharePoint framework web part. But as I click onto this particular section inside this SPFX web part, so what it will do is it will send the information to the Microsoft Teams, and then the task module will be triggered, and then it will notify the bot about the event that user has triggered, and then the bot will recognize that, and then it will post the data back to the conversation. So let me try it one more time. Maybe that was the stale session I had. So for example, let's click Jupyter. We want to get more information about the Jupyter, and the bot has identified that ask, and it has written back the information about the Jupyter. So after receiving the notification, bot will process the retrieve data, that is the planet name what we selected, and it will post that planet information to the conversation as the adaptive card. So this is again one of the new feature that got shipped with SPFX version 1.11. And then again you can use your SPFX solutions to be added as inside App Store. But again, only organizations at the moment can do that. But then once your solution is in marketplace, the others can use those for free. So it is kind of an marketplace, but it is referred to as app source. The last thing I wanted to highlight is the workflow. So SharePoint workflow or specifically SharePoint 2010 workflows have been retired. So SharePoint 2010 workflows have been retired since August 1st of August 2020. So this applies to all of the tenant, even including GCC. So it is recommended to migrate your 2010 workflows to Power Automate or other supported solutions. So for example, if you have created a tenant after 1st of August 2020, there won't be support for SharePoint 2010 workflows. But at the same time, even for example, if you are using SharePoint 2013, in the near future, even SharePoint 2013 to follow the same path, and even in the near future, there won't be any support for SharePoint 2013 workflows. So the SharePoint 2013 workflows will also follow the similar retirement path in the future. So again, it is highly recommended that to use the Power Automate or other supported solutions so that you don't lose any content during that particular transitions. So however, all this migration of workflows is again a kind of a manual process. So from the timeline perspective, starting 1st of August, all of the SharePoint 2010 workflows have been retired or turned off from the newly created tenants. For example, if you have your existing tenant, in that case, even SharePoint 2010 workflow services will be removed from those existing tenants by 1st of November 2020. And if you are still using SharePoint 2013 workflows, they are going to again follow the same retirement path in the future as like SharePoint 2010. So if you are working on workflows which are hosted on SharePoint platform or SharePoint 2010 or 2013 platform, it is the best time now to get those migrated to any of the other systems. Okay. All right. So at least those were the short updates from my side. Thank you. Back to you. Kirti, maybe you can take over now.
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep. Let me know if you can see my screen and can hear properly.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So thank you everyone for joining, and welcome to this session for we are just sharing the updates for this Microsoft 365 Teams, SharePoint, and Power Platform. So today I'm going to share a few updates about the SharePoint related to Microsoft Teams. As you know that Microsoft 365, we could have this list, Microsoft 365 app, which can provide a simple, smart, and flexible way to organize our work. And because of that, we can track the information that matters most of our business. So there are few updates in that Microsoft list, and that is already started to roll out in the different tenants. So I'll explain you a few of the scenarios that how we can use the ready-made templates just to start quickly. And if we have the Microsoft Excel sheet, and from there you can create the list. And if you have the existing list, then you can also use that as a template and create your own list. And after creating all the list or required list, how you can use the quick edit functionality just to enhance the productivity and the update the formattings. So I'm just opening this uh, portal. So in my tenant, Microsoft List app is not available yet, but you can use this URL. You can use this OneDrive URL and just append underscore layout slash 15 slash list.aspx, and you will be able to see this interface from where you can create the new list if this app is not available in your tenant. So once the app is available in your tenant, you can find this kind of user interface from where you can create new list, or you'll have this uh, recently used list. So for example, if I click on the new list, then it will give me the options that if I want to create a blank list, if I want to create a list from the Excel sheet or existing list, or I can use any one or any template from this 8 available templates just to have that. We could have the predefined columns, then column formatting and everything. So the purpose of each and every templates is meant for different uses. For example, event itinerary. So with this template, you can organize all your important event details in one place, and because of that, everything runs smoothly. By toggling to the calendar view, or you get a clear picture of the event activities and time, day, week, everything. And apart from this, if you want to go with the issue tracker, then this will help you to track and manage and bring issues to a close by making it easy to set priorities in the status column. And based on that, you can send the notification to team members when issues arises. And there are few more templates available with us, like for example, content scheduling, content scheduler. that help us to schedule and manage the content strategy. It will help us to filter down the items that are due soon, or get notification when authors check in their document, or the draft version of the document. And then we have this employee onboarding. So it will make it easy to manage your new employee onboarding process and guide them through relevant contacts and resources. So there is no need to look after for any person to get some kind of information. So everything will be available in this list. And then we have the work progress tracker. So that will help us to track priorities and progress as you work towards delivering products and services. So these are the 8 templates available as of now, but that could be more going forward. So I'll like just want to create one list, and then we'll explain you that how we can use the quick edit for that. So let's say, for example, if I click create this event itinerary. So these are the columns which we'll have once the list is created. We do not have the data available as of now. I'm not sure because it is not available in my tenant, but the data which you can see here is not available when the list is created. So once I click on the use template, it will ask me to create the enter the list name. So I'm just adding this name, July updates, and from here you can change the color as well. So you can pick any color, and if you want to select an icon for your list, then you can select any one of from the available icons. Then where you want to save this list, so you just have to click on here and select your site. So I'll just select this, and it also asks for if you want to show this list in site navigation, and then click on the create. And once it is created, so you'll have this list available in your SharePoint site, which has been selected when we are creating this list. So I have created this list already and added some of the information here. So I'll just show you that how you can use those items. So once you have added some data, then you can use the quick edit. So in the quick edit, the main option is that you can see this border layout for the selected items. That will help the developer that identify in which column they are editing the item. And then you can also have this filter option based on that. So as of now, I have selected keynote and workshop. So you can also select more than one item and just click on the close, and you can see in the breadcrumb we have this filter criteria available that user can understand. Okay, I have filtered this. This is the result set filtered with keynote and workshop. So this is the quick edit view you can use for this list as well. And there are certain other items, like if I have the start date and end time, end date with the time, then duration will be automatically calculated. So I'm just adding one new item, and so this all the information you can see. The session type drop down is also available when we created the list. And when you select specific date and time, it will automatically calculate this. Let's say, for example, I'm selecting 5th, then 6, 12 a.m. AM 6, 5th. And once I come out from this view, it will be automatically calculate this hours. Just exit this. Refresh it. Oh, sorry, I need need to check this. Let me change the time. Yeah. I think something is not working, but it will automatically calculate the duration like this. In the second record, there is a difference of 2 hours, so it will automatically calculate and give you the record. And you can see the capacity column having the color. So I have it sorted out in the descending order. So it also find the color. So there is no need to add kind of a progress bar or kind of a color code for this column. And for this session type, when if you want to add new column, new type, the selection type, then you can also pick the color. So you can check that from the settings and just go to the list, and you'll have that session type option available with you. So from here you can check that color code as well. So when you create that list, any list using the template, so you have the capability to have these out of the box columns available with you. So that's one thing. And then I've created the issue tracker list as well. So the same thing for that, but you will have this different set of columns for that, and you can create a list which can help you to track the progress of any issues. So one thing is not available in my tenant is once you hover the mouse on this item, we'll have the comment option over here. So you can add the comment and notify the user that this comment has been added for this list item. And you can also create a rule. So once you select that specific item and go to this automate, and here you'll have the create rule option, but it is not available in my tenant now. So the rule is a kind of create a flow which can help you to trigger something or notify someone when an item is created or item is updated by any user. Right? So this is that. And if you go back, and we'll see another option that how to use a spreadsheet. So if I have this Excel sheet, so I just want to create from existing Excel sheet, and you can upload it. And I have this file available with me. So it will find that whether your Excel sheet contains the table or not. So this file is not having the table or the column heading with the table format. So it will ask me to open the file in this browser, and just select those, and then select the data, the content which you want to be available, and just select this format as table. So once that is done, you okay, and you can refresh this, or you can click here and from Excel, and I'll have that file available here. So I can pick this file from here. So it's less than a minute, and clicking on the next, it will so let me pick the file which is already have this columns and content selected as a table format. Next. Yeah, so this is the format available for my list. So these are the data, and this is the table. These are the columns. Clicking on the next, and same thing happens with configuring the list name. So I'm just selecting this, and select this, and I want to have this SPC solutions as a site and create it. So it will create the list with this information, and yeah, we can take it further from there. So I think I have already created that list in my one of the to site content. Yeah, it's created. So it is here with the data. Though have some limitations, I don't see the icon which I have selected for the list when I'm creating the list. So some of the items are still missing for in my tenant, but I'm not sure whether I don't have that app available in my tenant, and I'm accessing using this underscore layouts list.aspx. So yeah, that is all about this updates for the Microsoft list.
Thank you, Kirti.
Yeah, thanks.
Manoj, we can start.
Yep, thanks. Hope my screen is visible to all.
Yeah, it's visible. We are good to go.
Yep, thanks. So, hey, I'm Manoj, and welcome to all to this session. So, I'm just going to talk about the Power Platform update. So, I'm Manoj Mehta, working as a senior solution architect in the Mindtree Limited. So, the two topics I took with respect to the Power Platform, one is the DataFlex, and another is a return to the workplace solution. So, the DataFlex, what Microsoft has just rebranding to the Common Data Services. So we'll talk about that. What is DataFlex? Basically, DataFlex divided, CDS divided into the two part and rebranding as a DataFlex. So if you see the DataFlex Pro and the DataFlex. So DataFlex is just a simplified version, and it just launched specifically to the teams. So what are the components we are going to develop within a team? So that's we are going to use as a backend DataFlex as a relational database instead of any other database, and no need to go out of the team context. Within a team context, we can create our own Power applications and connect to the new data source connector. So that is the one DataFlex. Another is a DataFlex Pro. DataFlex Pro basically having a license version. So it has just a more capability as compared to DataFlex. So it just comes as a $10 per app per user per month license. If we are using unlimited one, then $40 per user per month license. So how this licensing comes for the DataFlex Pro. And if you see this DataFlex Pro is just built on top of Common Data Services. So it's just a rebranding on that one. And so DataFlex Flow, if you see the integrated experience without custom app. So when we go to the teams, so we will need to create any Power App applications. So that will be designed within a Teams itself. So no need to go outside the teams to create any Power App applications. No need to switch to the multiple services. It will be created and it will be deployed within a teams. And what the other points we are going to get here? So we can't take those Power App URL and embed outside the teams. So that will be integrated within a teams only. So that is the one difference is what we are doing earlier when we are creating a Power App separately and we are just embedding into the teams and going to use. Now it's not the embedding system. It just resides within there and just deployed also into there. We can't take outside the team stat solutions. Another features what they added, like it's the grid structures or like a table structure. How we have a SharePoint, the quick edit point of view. So here also like we can connect with the data source, the tabular structures, and we can easily modify the content, add and remove those custom storage with respect to DataFlex. Another updates came for the DataFlex with respect to the virtual agent. So virtual agents is also again one of the features once we are creating a bot for our teams. So instead of custom bot, if we are using Power Virtual Agent and we need to connect with a CDS, so we can build within a Teams itself. So that is another updates. Now come with why DataFlex as a database. And so that's true. We have a lot of data sources exist. Almost 300 plus connectors is available, and a lot of data sources also like SharePoint also there, but all having their own pros and cons. So if we talk about DataFlex for a team, it has support for a relational database, which not SharePoint is not having. If you're using SQL, that is a different story itself. The file and images support, find, filter, sort support, and other basic data types. So these are the common activity which is available for the teams. But if the user is having a license for the DataFlex Pro, then he or she will get the more features like mobile offline, relevant search. So those type of capabilities also will come up. And now come up with the environment sections. So how the DataFlex works with a team. So if we have a teams, in one teams we can create one environment, with a Dataflex, if we have a Dataflex Pro license, we can create unlimited number of environments. And what's the size of Dataflex? If we talk about CDS or the Dataflex, so that comes with a storage capacity also. So here in Data Teams, we are getting the 2 GB or a 1 million records, whichever comes first. So accordingly, that is the limit. And here in our Dataflex Pro is a 4 DB and more. Now coming to the integrations point of view. So if you are using the Dataflex within a team, so what type of component we can integrate here, and what other premium or standard licenses is required. So as we have more than 350 premium and standard licenses is available, but for the Dataflex for our teams, we have a Power Automate. We just need to connect it. But for a Dataflex Pro, we have all those activities we can do. We can connect with the Power Automates, export to the lake, data export services. We can connect with the Events Hub, Service Bus, webhooks, server-side syncs, and the SQL Server Management Studios. Now the next solutions I'm going to talk about, it's a getting started with return to the workplace. So this is quite important nowadays. If you just think a little back when we were in the offices and when we need to go on leave, we need to apply the leaves, we need to apply the not in office, NIO, like that. So now it's become the opposite things. If we need to go to office, so at least till this COVID situations will not go off or not over. So we need to apply where we want to come office, and somebody need to approve and need to check the particular facilities. It's all are up to mark for the employees safety purpose. So this solutions related to that. I will just go through some screenshots and then walk through the entire documentation and live solutions also for that. So this is what Microsoft has given. So Microsoft has launched entire solutions. So we can just download and configure that solution in our tenant, and we can good to go use. But it's a very much clear disclaimer onto that. It is not for the production purpose, and it doesn't for any license or any liabilities or all those things. So, but we just need to inspire from that one, and we can make it as per our requirement. So these are some screenshots. Once the Power App forms we will launch, so people will get their names who has the logged in users or having a digital identity. So he or she want to take a pass of the particular day and which buildings he need to enter. And then once he will select and he will complete the health survey, and then he will get a notification on his app immediately. Yeah, you have received the pass of particular day. Another major pillar for this one, location readiness. So this is a Power BI component, and this is for the leadership team. So once this is divided into the 3 sections. Basically, one is for the employee who they can go to the app and just ask for a pass, whether they can go to that particular building and that building is ready or not. In the backend system, the 2 other components comes, 1, 2 with the Power Apps, so which is very well connected with this Dataflex. So this one was for the leadership team and another for the facility team. So leadership team at a high level or a bird view high, they want to see what activity is happening. They at a one glance, they want to see on what location. So what type of facilities we have, where is the virus has spread, all the facilities, if we'll say in one building, we have a multiple phases, or in one campus, we have a multiple phases, each phase is having a multiple floor or other facilities, those whatever we have defined in system, what their status is there, what their employee activities, how many employees has asked for the passes and how many employees has rejected for the passes, and what their sentiments once they are getting the passes or not getting the passes. So all those details are coming up here. So next is the location management. That comes for the facility manager who is going to manage all the facilities which we are going to create. So this facility, what it says, so the facility manager can just monitor and just check all the locations and their parameters, what they have defined, like what are the parameters they are defining this, because each facility they have defined their own transitions phase. So this facility is an environment setup phase, and then users equipment protocols are like that. So each facilities have their own, and they have a related details area with respect to facilities, checklists, transition, and we're just moving on. And then facility manager has a control if it's completed the one phase and moving to the next phase, he or she can change the status. So accordingly, my particular facility will be available for the employees to start the work. And this is a workplace care management that is still not launched, but some screenshots are there. So here is like once the employee has entered into the premises, and they feel like employee is not well and they need to trigger a case for that. So this is for that particular screen. So this is the Dataflex or the CDS one. So this is the link what I have given. So if we go to the link in this particular screen. So this is the entire solutions. If you find, so this solutions is divided into the basically four sections: location readiness, facility management. Location readiness for the leadership team, they can check entire locations activity, what is happening. And then facility managers, who is going to responsible to check all the facilities readiness transactions and the checklist. And the workplace care management, it's just for the if employee is not well, to create a case for that particular persons. And employees return to work is a Power App applications which is going to launch. So and what the license required to deploy these solutions, we should have a Power App license, and we should have a Power BI Premium or the Pro license. Why the Pro is required? To share the applications to the other folks. So if we check out this one, and then the Microsoft has provided this links is there, entire documentations, how to configure, and these are the three solutions. So return to workspace Power App solution package, Power BI solution package with the facility management dashboard solution package. If we open all those links, it will come up like that. You can just click and get it now and provide your credentials. These solutions will get deployed. Similarly, for the Power BI solutions will get deployed. Similarly, this one facility management solutions will also get deployed. So if you go to my tenant, I just deployed that solution. So we'll see if entire configurations will come up, you will get the solutions like that. You will get an employee return to workplace on Power App, and these are the two other applications you will get. Once I open first application, so it will come up like that. So users is having a mobile app, they will log in and they say, okay, I want to go to the office and want a 1 day pass. But this data is just purely fitted from the Microsoft, all the locations comes by default. We can modify as per our location. So we can select which locations we need to enter, like Mumbai if I select it. Yeah, so these are this particular facilities, this particular location, it's in which phase it is. It's an initial return. So it's give those details also. So it's coming from the Dataflex or like our entities where the facility manager has defining what it is. And then we are okay to start. Then we'll see the start health survey. So these are the terms and conditions. Employees need to accept it. Once they accept, so these are some questions they will just ask. You have a fevers and for this, or you have a excessive cough. You have covered all those things. So once I agree, yeah, in the last 72 hours, I hadn't following any symptoms related to that. Once I agree, so we are good to go, and I received the pass to enter to the particular premises. So here we got, this is the location, and this is the pass for August 5th, and this is the timing for that. So similarly, those entries will also added into our entities. Now moving to this CDS structures. Once I open those two more apps which I showcase here, so these two particular apps, facility managers, like the facility managers can entertain all the facilities, transitions, checklist and all, and workplace management for the leadership team. Once I come back here, so this is for the leadership one. So all the data comes there. What's the employee cases? Okay, if I refresh it here, so it just shows all the employees whoever just asked. Let it come. Yeah, all the details of the active employees will come up here. Master data is also there. They can edit all the employees which exist in the organizations and who is the case manager who is going to handle all those cases. So similarly, the next one is a facility manager. That is quite important. Here is the solution setup sections as well as for the facility section. If I go to the solution setup, all the master data is there. In all the master data, we can see what's the country, state, and facility type, facility group. All those master data we can fill it, and then okay, this facility belong to which particular sections. Then reopen phases, it's also there. So these are the phases like they have defined. So that's depend on the organization to organization. Phase 0 means close. Phase 2 is the initial runs. Phase 2 again. So I renamed this one. Phase 1 as the initial run, returns, scaling ups. So initial returns like that. So it's having their own criteria for that. If I go to the facility section, so in facility sections, so here if I go to the active facilities, so these are my facilities which exist. If I see this is the UAE and this particular building, if facility manager need to check particular things, so he or she will go here and they will get all the details of this facilities. So what state it is, this facilities, and what the details, facility numbers, facility types and groups. It's an initial written states from the 37 hours. So similarly, the facility manager has rights. He or she can just make it active or move it to the next step as per their transitions, phases transitions, what he or she has achieved. Okay, so phases transitions, what it says, whenever I will click it here, so it shows what are the my particular location in which phase. Accordingly, he or she can go there and they just change it and move it above. So this is more about the solutions, how it's work. And then moving to the Power BI reports. So this is the Power BI report for the leadership team, how they can see. So they have claimed like all the data comes from the WHO live data is coming there. Facility readiness, if they need to check with a particular criteria, which facilities on a which criteria, what status it is, and which locations the virus has spread, how many new cases are coming and cumulative cases, those reports they will get in a one shot. And then employee activity, like how many passes has generated, as I asked, from the 1st of August till 4th of August, this number of passes and what the sentiments I have just given. Accordingly, it will just start showing up here, employee satisfaction one. And this is for the facility managers. That was for the leadership, the previous one. Here, sorry, this is for the leadership. So here, like they want to see the at a one shot, they want to see, okay, we have multiple phases. Which how many phases has opened and which state it is. If I select like phase 2 initial run, how many facilities it is, and in this particular country, how many the new cases. They will get all the details, like facilities at a glance. So which areas and which type of phases are there, will get those details. And similarly, they will get the employees activity detail. Yeah, so this solution is just an overview what Microsoft has given. So we can just take a look and get inspired and just make it work, the solution as per our organization structure. Yep, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. Yeah, Vijay, we can start.
To see my screen.
Yeah,
Perumal?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, yes. We are
you're able
good
to
to
hear
go.
me, right? Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Hi everyone, myself Vijay. So today we will be discussing about other services such as Microsoft Search, Stream, Yammer, and any other Microsoft 365 related services. So I'm working as a technical architect in Cognizant, and also I'm a Microsoft MVP. Okay, so coming to the updates and July updates and whatever it has recently come. So we'll first to go through the Microsoft Stream related thing. Okay, so first thing, if you see here, remove unwanted background noise from videos. Okay, so whenever you're uploading any recorded videos or any sort of videos to Microsoft Stream, obviously since nowadays we are working from home and we have a lot of other noises or unwanted noise, right? So that can be actually removed. That background noise can be removed, and there is an option provided for that. Okay, so I'll quickly show you a demo on that. Okay, so whenever you upload any new video to Microsoft Stream, you will see a new option now called noise suppression. Okay, so you can just enable it or disable this one. And this option is available when you're uploading new videos. For the existing videos, I didn't find that option. Okay, once it has been uploaded, then you can edit this particular video and you can change it also. Okay, so I'll just publish this particular video. Okay, just I'll quickly refresh this one. And you can see, you will see an, where is that? So here actually you will see an option. I'm not sure why it's not showing here. Just give me a minute. So basically, once it is turned on, you will find an option just to enable that one, turn off or turn on. So once you turn off it, you will be able to listen only to the speech, and other unwanted noise will be removed basically. Okay, so this is one of the new feature which is available in Microsoft Stream now. And coming to the next one, which is related to Microsoft Search, the contextual search in Microsoft Teams. So it helps the users to find the information faster now with the help of this contextual search in Microsoft Teams. So we have a lot of teams created, channels created. We are doing a lot of one-to-one chat and all those things. In case if you want to search in a specific or selected channel, then it is really possible now. So you can just use a control plus F button, and then you can search the content over there. Okay, so I'll just quickly go to any one of the teams. Go to content. So here, if you see, okay, I'm just giving control F, and now if I try to search something, okay, the results will be returned over here. So you can see the results over here, and it will be returning only the messages and files from that specific selected channel. Okay, similarly for one-to-one also, you will be able to do the same search. Okay, and so that this will be helpful for you to do the faster search. So this is one of the new update with respect to Microsoft Search. And the next one is acronym search. Okay, so I'll just go to this one. Okay, before even getting into that, so generally when we are working in IT industry, like we might be moving to different projects or different accounts, right? The customers can be of a different from different things, right? It can be a pharma, it can be banking or anything else. Okay, so when you move from one project to other project, or when you move from one client to other client, their respective team or the respective project team or the respective client will have certain sort of acronyms always, right? For example, I'm just giving you a simple example. When you work in pharma, so there will be something called GXP applications. So GXP means good practices. So like that, in each and every projects or every team, there might be a lot of acronyms used, but you will not be aware of that. When you're new to the team, you will not be aware of that. So what you can do is Microsoft Search allows you to search for those acronyms which is available within your organization itself. Okay, so what you have to do is you need to configure a few things for this one. So you need to go to the admin center, and then under settings you can see Microsoft Search. Right, under Microsoft Search you can see you need to go to answers, and here you can see something called add acronym. Okay, so when you click here, you need to provide those details. So for example, I'm just giving GXP expansion, good practices, and X can stand for anything. Okay, description I'm just giving under source. Okay, source I can either select the URL or the any of the website, like basically a file or a website. I can select it from here, and then I can publish this particular acronym, so that whenever the user search for any acronym in the either in the SharePoint or in Bing, they will be able to Microsoft Search will return those results. So basically, when you're creating acronym, there are two things. One is like an editorial thing, and the other one is mind acronyms. Okay, so editorial acronym is one thing where the administrator needs to come and create all those acronyms. Okay, so like this is a manual thing that we need to create it. Okay, once it has been created, for the editorial acronym, it takes a minimum 3 days, I think, in order to return the search results. And that search can be done only in SharePoint and Bing as of now. And I think currently it's not available as part of the Office 365 search. Okay, so you can you can use a SharePoint or Bing in order to search any acronyms, and it generally takes 3 days to return the result. Like 3 days, it will take 3 days once you create the acronym. And the second one is the MIND acronym. So that for that, you don't need to do anything. What will happen is Microsoft Search AI capabilities will allow to mind those acronyms based on different things. Like one is the user personal emails, and the second one is a documents or SharePoint documents or OneDrive documents or OneNote content. And the other one is the public documents which are available within your organization. So using all these as a source, the Microsoft Search AI capabilities will mine those acronyms automatically, and then that will be added over here. Okay, so once that will take at least 7 days, I think. Okay, and also with respect to the permissions or security related things. So since we mentioned that the source can be users personal email or documents, right? So when the, for example, if there is an acronym that has been taken from the user's personal email, then based on the permissions, like only the specific user will be able to search for that. Similarly for the documents also. So for example, acronym has been picked up from the one of the document which is available within the organization. So whomever is having access to that particular document, for them only the search results will be shown. Okay, so the security trimming is over there also. So this is one of the new feature, like a had acronym, which is available now. And the next thing is add additional properties to the profile card using the profile API in Microsoft Graph. So as we all know, right, like we have the profile card. So when we go to Outlook, we can hover over any of the user and it will display the profile card, which is basically a person card or contact card, and it displays some basic information, right? And the name, mobile number or email ID, and who is your manager, and a few organization related details it will be showing, right? So but basically like based on organization to organization or based on different needs, you might need to have additional properties added to that so that it will help to figure it out the right expert, or you can easily filter the users, right? So for example, if there is a property called expertise, so I can put SharePoint or Azure so that it is easy for someone to find, okay, this particular user is expertise in this technology, something like that. So in order to do that, you need to have the custom properties created, and you should be able to bring that in the profile card, right? So Microsoft has made that available where you can add the additional properties to your profile card using Graph API. Okay, so that is one of the new feature. And coming to the next one, so for search related things we are completed. So now coming to the next one, Yammer. So Yammer, now if you see, there is a something called new Yammer available, which is completely redesigned, and there are a lot of new capabilities that have been added that powers your leadership engagement, company or org-wide communication or communities in Microsoft 365. Right, and also now if you see, it has been deeply integrated with Outlook as well as Microsoft Teams, right? So in case if you take it as a Outlook, last month, I think there was an update around that. So whenever any post has been announcement or post has been tagged with your name, so you will be receiving a notification in Outlook, right? So in that notification which you are receiving in the Outlook, you no need to open a Yammer tab or Yammer application. Directly you can, from the Outlook itself, you can reply or like it or do some commands or something like that. Okay, like that there are a lot of new capabilities has been added, and even in Microsoft Teams now if you see, it has been it is a communities app has been available now. Okay, and this is the first like a Microsoft app which is built on top of a Fluid system. Okay, Fluid design system, and also like easy to use, and it provides the engaging capabilities on the web as well as with the mobile app. Okay, so in case if you want to enable this particular new Yammer in your organization, then you need to have administrator access. And then once you have that, what you can do is you can come here to Yammer and then network admin. So you can see something called new Yammer, right? Once you click on it, there are few options available in order to enable this new Yammer to your organization. So if you see, you can either stay in the classic Yammer itself, or you can enable the new Yammer as an opt-in. So users, if they need it, they can just they will have a toggle button kind of thing. If they need it, they can move to the new Yammer, or they can still use it. So, or like you can enable the new Yammer for all the users with no opt-out option. Okay, so all these options are available in order to enable the new Yammer for your organization. Okay, so this is one of the thing which is currently available. And next thing is Microsoft 365 Cloud Print solution. So this is currently in public preview. Okay, I don't have any demo kind of thing or to show you something. But what is this cloud print solution? Basically, this is on a universal print, which is a new service added as part of Microsoft 365. Basically, it is like for user-friendly or secure print experience for the users. So you no need to have any install any printer drivers, and it is available in the Windows experience itself. It is built into the Windows experience itself. You don't need to install any drivers for this one. Okay, it helps you to find your near or outside, like a based on the internet access itself. You can just figure it out the near or outside of your current location where the printers are available. Okay, and also it makes use of the SSO when connected to the internet, and it has been authenticated using Azure Active Directory. Okay, so certain I've just put the reference details also. I don't have any demo kind of thing, but definitely there are few information is provided over here, and the customer feedback has been provided over here, customer comments, and all those things are available in this one. Okay, and moving to the next one, advisor for teams is now in general availability. So as everyone knows, right, in Microsoft Teams Admin Center, you have something called advisor for teams, which is a tool, powerful tool available for your organization in case if you want to roll out Microsoft Teams. Okay, so it helps you to analyze your like a bandwidth or network related things, and also it has it helps you to roll out the teams and as a multiple workloads kind of thing. First as a chat and chat alone, and then chat and collaboration, and then calling meetings. So it is having a phase by phase. It will help you to roll out the teams to your organization, and also it creates when you use that in a Microsoft Teams, it creates a deployment team where it will have create a team and create all the tasks that you need to perform as part of the rollout. Okay, so that powerful tool, it was in preview. Now it has been made it as a it is available as a general availability one. Okay, coming to the next one, new multi-window meeting and calling experience. So like in the last few months before, like we have this one, right, for chat, you can open the chat in a new window. Similarly, now even the meetings and the callings, you can open it as in a new window, right? So if you see this one, this is what it is. So in case if you are in call with someone or if you are in meeting with someone, you can just open that as a separate window instead of opening it on the Teams window itself. Okay. And the next one is new lobby settings that is available in Teams meeting. Okay, so if you go to Teams meeting, again, this was a few months before they introduced this option, who can bypass the lobby. So whenever you join the Teams meeting, obviously you can see like someone is waiting in the lobby and they need to admit it. So there were like a few options available that in this one, right? So every within the organization, someone is joining, they no need to wait in the lobby. Someone outside the organization joining, they need to wait in the lobby. Like that, there are 3 to 4 options was available before. Now they have introduced something called only me, which means that being an organizer, you will be the only person who will be able to enter into the meeting without waiting in the lobby. All other users who are joining the meeting, they need to wait in the lobby and someone needs to admit them. Okay, so this is one of the new option, just only me option available in who can bypass the lobby as part of the Teams meeting. Okay, and coming to Microsoft Teams Rooms, so there is a new version available, app version available, which is 4.5.35.0, which is having the additional features or enhanced features such as support for video gallery layouts. You can raise hand, and default speaker volume settings, and you can also have a direct guest join. So basically, like if you have any other devices also, like Cisco with WebEx meeting, you can join from other devices also. Okay, you don't need like a direct guest join. And also in the admin center, they have enhanced a few things which helps you to do the auto enrollment or device management from the admin center itself. Okay, so these are the certain new features which is available as part of Stream, Search, Yammer, Teams meetings and callings and other services. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Perumal, it's you.
Yeah, thanks, Vijay. Yeah, folks, please feel free to unmute yourself and post your questions. We shall wait for a few more minutes for the questions.